Thank you. My name is David Osborne, Methods Administrative Coordinator for Illinois State Board of Education at the secondary level here in Illinois. Uh, Thank you for joining us to learn a little bit more information about our notices of non-discrimination and the requirements pertaining to MOA. Just to get started, I want to go over what are some of those pieces of legislation that require a notice of non-discrimination. It is found in Title VI, Title IX, Section 504, the Age Discrimination Act, and the Boy Scouts Act. However, for the purposes of MOA, we are only looking specifically at Title VI, Title IX, and Section 504. And when we do these reviews, we may issue recommendations on the Age Discrimination Act or the Boy Scouts Act, but not of, we will not be issuing findings. Those will only be for Title VI, Title IX, and Section 504. So just to review, there are a couple different types of notices of non-discrimination. Uh, we are going to be looking at the continuous notices of non-discrimination, which are general for all educational agencies required to, educational agencies required to issue these notices. And then the annual notice of non-discrimination, which are distinct notices required of any subrecipient that offers career and technical education programs and that is federally funded. And so this is a distinct requirement for those districts that are offering CTE programs. So what are the requirements of continuous notice of non-discrimination? This is that first one that is covered for all schools. Continuous notice of non-discrimination must include two basic elements. One is a statement specifying the bases for non-discrimination. These can include a wide list if the district chooses, but they specifically must include race, color, national origin, sex, and disability. And once again, you can add additional components to this, but these are the ones that are required by federal legislation. Names or titles, addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses of the Title IX and Section 504 coordinators. So those should also be included. And then as far as just taking a look at what a sample might look like, the recipient does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, disability, or age in its program or activities. And if you are a secondary education entity, it is appropriate to provide and provides equal access to Boy Scouts and other designated youth groups. The following person has been designated to handle inquiries regarding the non-discrimination policies: name, title, office, address, telephone number, and email. You want to make sure that it does specifically list those two components. Notice the first one there is the basis for non-discrimination, and the second is that contact information for the coordinators. Who must have access to my district's continuous notice of non-discrimination? So the intent for the continuous notice of non-discrimination is to make sure that any member of the school community would have this information. That includes students, parents, or legal guardians, participants, beneficiaries, applicants for admission, enrollment, and or employment, employees, including persons with impaired vision or hearing, and unions or professional organizations with collective bargaining or professional agreements with subrecipients. So it is the responsibility um, of the district to ensure that each of these stakeholders have access to this notice of non-discrimination. And once again, part of the intent behind a continuous note of non-discrimination is regular points of contact. It's a little more abbreviated than the annual notice that you'll see in a little bit. So the idea is that this will be included in multiple different locations so that all of these stakeholders are continuously aware that there's a notice of non-discrimination. Some places that these should be showing up are application forms, enrollment forms, handbooks, catalogs, orientation materials, marketing materials, newsletters or magazines. Really, any written materials that are being distributed to students should include this. Website and electronic publications, and any student contracts or agreements, including cooperative education or workplace agreements. So we're going to shift gears and now move into the annual notice of non-discrimination. And these are going to be quite similar, but there's one important distinction that we'll point out in just a moment. These are the annual notices of non-discrimination are a specific requirement of the MOA guidelines that are unique only to subrecipients that are offering career and technical education. These require three basic elements, and you'll see that there's quite a bit of overlap on two of these. One is, once again, that statement specifying the bases for non-discrimination, and they still must include the same categories: race, color, national origin, sex, and disability. You can list out additional bases for non-discrimination, but these are the ones that are required federally. And two is going to be a brief summary of program offerings and admission criteria. So this is going to be slightly distinct. Um, and then three, names or titles, addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses of the Title IX and Section 504 coordinators. So as far as the requirements for publishing an annual notice of non-discrimination, they must be published prior to the beginning of each school year, and they must reach students, parents, employees, and the general public. And so this is another thing that sets it apart. Whereas one is more for notifying anybody who is already a part of the community, this one does require that you also notify the general public. Historically, this was done by either radio ads, television ads, newspaper postings, things of that nature. However, it is generally acceptable now to publish the annual notice only on the recipient's website as long as it is easily identifiable and accessible. Does a district need to provide the annual notice of non-discrimination in other languages? The question is yes, if that is applicable. So if the service area contains a community of national origin minority persons with limited English language skills, the school must publish the notice to that community in the appropriate language as well, or languages, and they must state that the recipient will take steps to assure that the lack of English language skills will not be a barrier to admission or participation. This was just a high-level overview. We do have additional resources and examples on our website. Please feel free to review those in the administration tab. But if you have any additional information or questions, please feel free to reach out to us at moa@isb.net or call 217-524-4832. Once again, my name is David Osborne, the Secondary Methods of Administration Coordinator for the state of Illinois. Thank you so much.